All right, welcome to the Passion Product Launch Passion Copy formula to build a powerful sales page. I'm just going to go over the nuts and bolts of how I use different formulas to create sales pages that convert, that actually work for you. They leverage your time and your traffic to filter and convert the right people. And I'll show you how I move this outline over to a basic WordPress page. I mean, you can do this on any kind of platform as long as you have control over the flow and the page. So I usually use a very simple WordPress page, or you can use ClickFunnels or any of those other types of web builders, as long as they give you flexibility to have complete control over your page. We use this, and I use a GeneratePress Premium, which is a $39 theme per year, and it has so much flexibility. There's other themes that are out there that are they're much more optimized for marketing, but you can, depending on what tool sets you get used to, you can use different themes. There's a lot of great themes out there that are much more user friendly for marketing. I use this one, and I also patch in different opt-in programs and funnel software and tracking and things like that. So there's plenty of tools. I'm just going to try to make this simple. So there are in the world of copywriting, there's all kinds of formulas out there. What you have to do is you have to find the formula that works for you, and you have to do enough of them to really understand basically the nuts and bolts. You have the flow of the page, you have the assets, and you have the assets are like the videos and the images and the branding and things like that. And then you have the words, you have the message. And in earlier modules, in the message module, you actually really work on honing your core message so that when you come to this point, you really don't have a problem filling this out. Now, this is the rough copy. I have also the framework that is more branded, but the branding gets in the way when you're trying to get in and just do the work. This is basically how I do it. I make an outline using some well-known copywriting formulas that have been around for years. But there's a ton out there. If you want more education on it, you can take other courses on copywriting. There's great copywriters out there. And if the key is to find one that really resonates with you, that you understand, and then you have to test it. You have to get in. You have to do enough of these to figure out what works and what doesn't, and really begin to reverse engineer these things. So you don't want to just go in and copy someone else's page and just replace their information with your information, especially across industries, because that's a terrible way to go about it. There's no way. I mean, that could be a start, but it's just a bad way to go, because if you don't understand why they're putting the things in the order that they're putting them on there, then you won't understand the psychology behind it. So basically, if you look at the age-old copywriting formula, it's AIDA. Copywriters have used this for years. It's attention, interest, desire, and action. So basically, you've got to get their attention. You've got to pique their interest. You've got to dig up all those desires, the good and the bad, and then you have to show them how to take action to get what they want. So that's a good general guideline. For me, it's not really, that's where I started, but it's not descriptive enough for me to really put the nuts and bolts into it. So I started studying other copywriting formulas and other great copywriters out there. Then there's another one that's problem, agitate, solve. It's got a little bit more aggressive nature to it, because you identify the problem, the person, and then you agitate that. You agitate that through story, through showing them basically through story how much you get on their side and you show them how much, talk about their pain in all these different ways. And then you show them the distance between their pain and the solution, and then you solve it by bridging the gap between their problems and their pain and the solution that you have. And then there's other things on there. Obviously, you have to put in you can agitate in a good way and a bad way. I mean, you can talk about the negatives of not taking action, the positives of taking action. Both those agitate. They just do it from a different standpoint. And then you can, of course, tell stories and all that stuff to promote your point. So what I've worked out that works well for me and for clients I've worked with is the word passion. It's just passion copy formula. I always try to make things fit in acronyms that are memorable and also brand worthy. So might be, kind of the geek in me whatever it is. I enjoy that challenge of trying to make something memorable this way that also fits the brand and is in alignment. So in the beginning, you start with the problem. You want to do it in their language. You know them and understand their pain, their passion, their problem, their prospect puzzle. And you do this in the first module, the passion module. So the reason why you go dig so deep in that very first module is because you have to have that information. It's got to be reliable information, and so that you're ready when you go to develop your copy. If you don't do that, then you're going to have, if you don't do it well enough, you're going to have to go back and do a lot more homework. And to be honest with you, most people have to anyways, because you launch your funnel and you learn what works and what doesn't in real time when you launch a funnel, or you launch your first Google pay-per-click or Facebook ads, whatever ad platform and whatever advertisement you're using. You learn what works through split testing. That's really the master of building a profitable funnel. It's split testing. So you split test any parts of these, but the headline in the beginning, the way you start out is really probably, that could be 50 to 90% of the issue. I mean, if your headline is off, it's not going to draw the person deeper into reading your copy or going into the video or whatever the next action you want them to take to learn more about their problem and how your solution, your plan can solve their problem. So then the next part is agitate, and there's also some other parts of this. You want to agitate, you want to act, and you want to amplify. They're three big pains. So the act part is simply you're building your authority, your connection, and your trust while you're doing this. You do that through all kinds of ways, and you talk about, identify their three big pains. Talk about those. Amplify your authority by solving it. The next part is simplify. So you simplify all this for them, and you whittle it down to maybe the three big things they have to do. That you usually find if you look in all webinars and all kinds of pitches, you'll see this rule of three playing out all over the place. You'll see people in webinars solving three big problems, and they don't deal into the nuts and bolts usually of how to do it. They just show you what, and they show you enough of a framework, or they show you enough of a context that you realize that they know what they're talking about. So then you solve, and you do this through story. You can do this, and 80% of your copy is this middle part. It's agitating, simplifying, solving, telling stories. That's all in the middle. First you hook them in, then you go through all this, and then at the end you stretch. So the second S is stretch. You stretch the gap and you future pace. What does that mean? It just means that stretching the gap is really nailing that gap between where they're at and where they want to be. And also where they are at and what your solution or your plan can do for them. So you're stretching the gap in terms of the little problem that you solve for them. Back here, these three big pains. Then you show them the bigger roadmap. You show them the clear picture, the one clear picture that you have to take them from A to Z or A to B or wherever you're taking them. And you talk about and then you can future pace. What that just basically is, that's another form of stretching the gap, and you're basically saying, if we're talking 6 or 12 months from now, what's different? What would be different in your business if it could be, or in your life? And so you get them to just step aside and dream for a minute, to really imagine emotionally and mentally where they're going to be in 12 months if they take your solution or if they don't take your solution. That's where we get down later on here, and I'll show you that. So the next part is kind of interview, and you can mess around and test the flow of this, but you'll see that pretty much every good sales copy page has these elements. You interview. You basically, this is where you say, are you in or out? You lay out people, and this is one way that you do this is you say who this is for and who this is not for. That's another way of saying, are you in or you out? And you can do that directly, or you can do it by saying, this is who we've helped. This is who, we may not be able to help. And that kind of piques the interest of and ramps up the desire of the person to buy, who is an ideal client. It gets them to get, from lukewarm to be cold or hot. It gets those ones who are going to be hot. It gets them helps to get them off the fence. So you do this through testimonials, transformations. Transformations is huge. Your testimonials tell transformations. Your case studies, if you have case studies, Those are very powerful. If you have 3 or 4 case studies you can use within your sales copy or within your videos, those are pretty awesome. If you have 3 case studies that nail your 3 big pains for your target prospects, that does all kinds of things, because number 1, it shows proof. Number 2, it gives a testimonial. Number 3, there's no real objections, because you're showing them in real life setting with technical details of how you solve someone else's problem just like theirs. So these are all very powerful ways to interview. So you're not only they're going through this interview process, but you're using testimonials and these transformations, and then the in or out. You're ending the interview too. You're inviting them into this interview process where they're kind of interviewing you by reading your sales copy and watching your video, but you're really interviewing them because it's set up to weed them in or out. And at the end, you basically ask them, are you in or out? If you're do you want to continue to go down the road you're going, or do you want to make a change and get off the fence and actually improve your life with the plan that you have? So then offers. The offers are basically, there's several parts to an offer, and it has everything to do with taking away risk and giving them options and price points where they can actually have a choice. So you would rather have them have three yes choices than a yes no choice. So I learned that a long time ago, that on a sales page or when you're in a sales conversation, open the door. Give them several doors to open instead of either open or closed. If you give them an A, B, or C, they're much more likely to lean towards one of the yeses that fits them versus a yes or no. You don't want just a yes or no cold answer. That way you're leading them into a greater chance or greater option to become your customer or client. So I hope that makes sense. This is basically, you say this is exactly what you get, and you want to talk about, you can go over the features of the tools or whatever you're offering, but you don't want to say, you get 9 CDs for whatever this costs. You want to say the 9 CDs will help you X, Y, and Z. You want to really hit on the benefits. You're still selling the benefits in the story that hits on their original pains and how you're going to solve their problems. And then the N in passion is next. Basically, that's the response. You ask for the action, you make it very clear, and whatever that next door is, whether it's a strategy session, they book a strategy session with you, they purchase an online membership, they do a trial offer, or they pick one of the 3, or whatever it is. They fill out a form to be interviewed for qualification. There's all kinds of next steps, and that's your conversion process that we go through and we figure out through the pipeline module and so forth. So let's scroll down here, and I'll just show you how real quickly I'll do this. Now these are the big topics that I use, and I try to use them and go in order, but this doesn't always translate to what you actually put on your page. So with these assets, in the problem at the very top, you want to have trust icons. You get those from the blueprint module, which is number 5. That goes over all the blueprints you need in a visual format. So you want to have your headline and hook. You want to get this right. This is with your passion power message, and it gives you, it basically says, calls them out, tells them what you're going to be able to do for them or how you're going to help them with some kind of a timeline and some kind of measure, how they can measure the results, in a relatively short period of time if you can do that. So the whole point is to solve a problem, give them a measure, show them what they're going away towards and away from. So then you have this Act 2 video where you build you build authority, connection, and trust. And we actually have a whole framework for that in the machine module with a modified webinar formula. It's just not as long as a webinar. So you can create video. Basically what you're doing is you're having a written sales copy, but you're also going to have an option for them to opt in on this sales page to get into your marketing funnel if they're not ready to purchase. So either way you can get them. Either way you can get them into the system, whether they're going to buy now or buy later. And I'll show you how you're going to do that later on. You basically have 2 call to actions. You have a main call to action, which is very obvious. Sometimes you use what's called Bob, big orange button. It's been shown through all kinds of millions and millions of split tests, that these big orange buttons are the way to start. And then if you're then you can split test and change colors to see if you ever get to that point, to see if it's going to make a difference with click-throughs and things like that. So we use this Act 2 video, the modified webinar formula, to if they want to open the video and watch to get more peaked into buying your product. Then we have the call to action, and you'll see pages with several calls to action. It makes sense because you don't want them to have to scroll all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom to engage if they're ready. See, it's several points on your page if it's long enough. Long sales copy works well if it's done right. There may be a point of decision where something resonates and bang, they want to get in. So you intersperse those call to action buttons throughout. And the way we're doing it is we have one call to action, that's to pay or join, or to see the options, or go to the pay page. If they want to, if say you had 3 different options, payment options or whatever. And then we have a second one where it's an opt-in, which is much smaller. It's usually text, and it just says, or if you want to watch the video, the blueprint of how you do X, Y, and Z, then you have that there. So the next part, soup to nuts, basically you're going to explain and show and tell everything. The big 3 problems and solutions. You're going to stretch the gap. You're going to have them make a decision. Are they in or out? Then you're going to show them the door again. Okay. Then you're going to back it up. Testimonial, social proof, case studies, call to action. So here's how basically I broke it down. Here's the here, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we just take this. I'm just going to copy this. All right. So I worked this out. I took the Passion formula and I worked out with the assets that you'll get all the blueprints for. In the blueprint module, as well as in the machine module to do this. So right here I just copy it and I jump into my page editor, and I either make sections on a one page, but the thing I like about this particular theme in WordPress, the GeneratePress Premium, is that you can just add sections and you can title them, and then they show up later. So trust icons. Let's go here. Let's grab this here. And I don't think I put them here. I'll go ahead and put trust icons. You can put those right at the top, make them small. That's just to build instant credibility. Those can be badges from security or any other kind of logos, whether people know who they are or not. If you can put clean logos at the top or somewhere above the fold, it's going to build instant credibility or trust, because if other people are allowing you to put their logos on your website to promote your product, then that tells other people, hey, this guy or gal is pretty trustworthy. So let's take the problem, and I didn't lay this out correctly on this page, so let's do this real quick. There's the trust icons. Here's a section. We'll just call this the problem section. Okay. I actually put the and then I'm gonna go ahead and paste that in here. Paste the problem Passion. Let's see. There we go. If you hit Control Shift V insert, it'll take out the any coding or any of that hidden HTML. So I just want clean stuff on there for now. I'm just basically outlining it. Okay. So go to the agitate part, just copy it, and I did some work on this, and you'll have all the outlines for making your own. And I'll go ahead and add a section here, and we'll just call this the agitate, authority, connect, trust, amplify, all that stuff. We'll go ahead and click to edit. We'll paste that in there. We'll do this agitate, and then and I like to use the word act because it's authority, connection, and trust, and then amplify. So we're going to amplify these things. All right. So there we go. And I'm not publishing yet. I'm just going to save the draft. All right. So we got that saved. I'm going to go back here, and all I'm doing is simply setting up the nuts and bolts, so that when I go in to actually create the web page, that everything is there. My outline's there. So this is going to be the simplify, solve, story. All right. And then what's the next one down here? I just want to take a look. So we'll go ahead and edit this. We'll put my notes in there. We'll go simplify, solve, story. and it's actually story solve. So you can solve in and out of the story of this process, because while you're simplifying, you're actually solving the problem. You're showing how easy and clear it is to solve the problem, and we'll get into that later. Then I'll just add another section, simplify, story, solve. Then there's an interruption there, that's a pain point, so you can throw that in if you want. I'll go ahead and throw it in there just because it's in my notes. And this could be pain point 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't matter. So you can hit on a short pain point interruption. These are just little things that I've learned. And also you test and try. You can get them from you might find a sales page that really works well from competition or some other people, and you start other industries, and you start trying different, testing different elements of theirs to see how well they work with yours. So start with the training wheels. Start with formulas that you understand that work, and test everything. 1 Thessalonians 5:21 says test everything and keep what's good, or hold on to the good. So that's a good model for going forward in all your marketing sales. Test everything. Let's see, stretch. We'll put stretch there. I'll paste my notes. And that's actually me stretching the gap. Basically, I am showing them context. I'm showing context, and you will do that too. When you, in your message, when you build out your plan, when you build out your solution, your unique mechanisms in Module 2, you will stretch the gap. You're basically going to show them and help how you can help, but that you're going to show them the clear path. You're going to show them. You're going to show and tell. A lot of people just tell. The key is to show and tell. When I learned that, it made all the difference, because when you can show someone a clear system and a path that you've already used, it's already carved out for them, it instantly builds authority, connection, credibility, trust, all that stuff. So here's the 7 steps of our system. I've got them ordered here. Then we're going to break them down, throw the graphics in there, maybe have a little intro video over each piece in there. People like the video. And there's a little formula that we have for doing these quick little overview videos that are really powerful, short and sweet, and really show the benefits and the transformations. Transformations are huge. If you can show transformations both through story and through testimonies and through case studies, very powerful. So let's add section, and then we're going to go into the interview. The interview is kind of cool. This is something that I kind of came up with. Obviously, there's nothing new under the sun, but to me, interview fit, because you're interviewing them. They're being interviewed. They don't even realize it, but they are. When someone is reading your sales copy, they're interviewing themselves. They're saying, is this for me? Are there other people like me that have successfully used this? Those are two of the biggest objections that people have in webinar sales and any kind of sales at the end that you have to cover is this for me? Does it apply to me? And will it work for me? So when you show them that, yes, this applies to you and your situation by all kinds of ways, by story, by whatever, by answering questions, Q&A, by taking objections and turning them into Q&A. That's a very powerful way you'll learn about in the webinar formula. When you use that, when you use those, you're interviewing them, you're helping them decide if this is for them or not. They're being interviewed, and at the end, you're basically telling them, this is for you if you have this, this, and this, and you're going to apply yourself, and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. Then you have your call to actions again. So there's the interview with and showing all the people you've helped, or the kinds of people that your product or solution is good for. Okay, and then this takes up all this takes up about 80%. Your story, the middle part, takes up about 80% of your copy. So let's go here, interview, stretch interview, and then we're going to take the offers. This is your offer or offers. In other words, why I like to say offers is because give them more than one offer if you're able to. Let's see here. Don't just have a light switch on or off, in or out, yes or no. You give them that road, the yes or no, but the yes has 3, 4, 5 options, whatever you figured out on when you actually do the pipeline module 4. You go through the 7 product pillars, and you completely define all of your possible products, from your free giveaway products all up to your high-end products, and you can begin to flesh out and map out those products and the different offers so that you can get more 80-20 spread of your market. So you may have 80% of your market may be able to afford your middle grade, middle price product, but then if out of those same 80%, there's always going to be a small percentage of them that may be able to afford something that's 10 times more expensive, and those that will be willingly buy something that is 10 times less expensive. So if your main product was $5,000, then there are going to be a very small percent through the 80-20 marketing curve that proves that in that 80% of people that a small percentage of them will pay 2 to 10 times more. They'll pay 10 times more for a similar product if the value and the delivery is there. So you could get $50,000 out of a small sample of that same population, and you will also be able to get, if you have another product that's much more easy to deliver and gives the same value or a similar value, you could get a $500 product and sell it to many more people in that same pool of people. So the offer has several parts, and we go into depth in the training of this here, and it's you have your price, you have your deliverables and the benefits. You really want to go highlight the benefits, okay? Don't just tell them what they get, tell them why it's helpful to them. Delivery options, is it a DIY thing, a self-study, or is it a high-end coaching thing? Is it just a standalone product or a system of products? You'll get those all figured out in your 7 product pillars and module 4. Then you want risk reversal. You want to show that you trust the buyer. In other words, how can you make the offer so ridiculously no-brainer that it'd be crazy for them not to buy? In other words, you've just shown them that you've done all the stuff. You've drawn up their pain, you've agitated, you've shown them how to solve it. Then you make the offer so good that they can't resist it. So then you ask the question. You ask them for the sale. So let's throw that in there, and let's see, PASSION. So the N is simply what's next. N is next. I should have done that here. There we go. So basically, these are the 2 paths. This is the end of your story that you fleshed out in the message module number 2. And the story is, at the end of the story, they've seen your plan. They know you're the person with the plan. They know that you can solve their problems. They know that you have a clear plan, a clear pathway, and that plan can either propel them to action in one or 2 ways. They're going to either take action and they're going to prosper because of your plan, or they're not going to take action and they're going to face peril, or they're going to face the same thing. So let's just put this in here. Let's put next. So you're going to show them what's next. Some people call it showing the door. You're going to show them the door. There's a door that they have to cross through, and when you offer them that door, the doorway can be instead of in or out, it can be A, B, or C. So give them multiple yes options versus just a yes or no option if you're able to do that. So for us, it's like, are you going to stay in the dark and confusing world of wondering if your passion is ever going to become a business, or if you're ever going to take your current business and really grow it to its potential online? That's one of the things that we really help people do. Or are you going to step through the door? Are you going to go on the clear, straightforward path and finally reach the success that you've wanted to reach with your business? So get started or watch the free 6-figure launch blueprint, something like that. That's basically your call to action. 1 is your main one. That's where they're either going to buy right now or they're going to opt in, so to get into your continued drip marketing system to hopefully buy later. So let's hit apply. And so basically, let's save the draft. And that's basically how I do it. I mean, it's so simple. Once you have a formula and you have a good template or a good theme that you're comfortable with, now this page is going to look like junk right now. In fact, I'll show you what it's going to look like. But I've moved all the brain work, okay, using the formula, using the Passion copy formula right here. I've used all this brain work, all this homework I've done, and I've put it into sections on a web page. Now all I have to do is go to that web page, and if I'm going to have a designer do it, if I'm going to do it, or whatever, if I'm going to hire a builder to do this, then I've got it laid out for them, and all I just need to do is get my checklist, make sure my checklist from the blueprint module, and make sure I basically have all of the assets that I need. So I can start collecting my assets, my testimonials, my icons, the videos. If I have to make a video, I get that done. So I wonder if I can view this here. Let me see if I can view this. Yeah, here's a preview. I don't know how that preview works. Sometimes with different themes, the preview doesn't always work the greatest. Okay, so here it is. So this is how ugly this page looks right now, but honestly, this is most of the work, unless you're doing a video. If we're going to do videos in here, I've got a decent video that I'm going to put in here and some mini videos that are going in here when this is all finished. But if it's not finished, I'm still going to launch the page, because this is the meat, this is the information that sells and walks them through the process of being hooked and sold and interviewed and showing them the door. So it's in these different sections. This is how it looks, and it's just text right now. And we can get rid of these footer widgets and stuff. That's how I do it. So you start with the outline, you do your brainstorming work. I just do it in a Google Drive doc somewhere here. Make sure I use my outline, my checklist. It's all there, and then I put them into the sections, just like this through my theme, or I put them into one big section, one big body section, and I just separate those with horizontal rules or dashes or whatever, just so I know. Look, here's the header part. Here's the the above the fold part. Here's the digging deeper part, going to agitate, going to simplify, solve story, going to stretch the gap, going to through the interview process. All right, showing who's in and who's out, who should be, who shouldn't be, with your testimonials, case studies, or whatever. And then here's the offer. The offer is a major part of it. And then show them the door. What's next? How do they, if they're interested, how do they buy? That's really it right there. So hope that helps. It's a very effective way to launch sales pages that convert and do it quickly using this process in our frameworks.